Thanks for having me, everybody. Appreciate it. So welcome to Fillspot. The gig revolution is here. So the key problem facing the status quo of hiring today is the paradigm shift of the workforce from the standard 9 to 5 to flexible independent contract work. While we've seen from the pandemic a remote and hybrid model for upper middle class work take shape, the steady rising cost of living is compelling more lower and middle class people to look for additional work, often through gig work. The traditional jobs taken by people of this class are in the service industry, who right now are facing a massive worker shortage. Take Josh, a 43-year-old owner and general manager of the Zebra Bistro, an upscale restaurant located in St. Charles, Missouri. Josh, like many of his fellow restaurateurs, has had a job ad up for over a month on several of the large job board sites to fill a line cook spot at his restaurant. He's spending roughly $70 a day keeping all the ads up, and though applicants have said that they would show up for an interview, not one is yet to do so. Josh just wants someone who will actually show up, and his cooks tell him that they can keep up with orders on busy nights if they could just get someone to cut the vegetables and wash the dishes. The problem for Josh is that, and many others like him, is that the traditional methods of working and hiring have changed rapidly under their feet. What Josh needs is a contract worker, but in the industry, there are few options to turn to. Internet job boards and resume databases fail in this environment. They are not suited for short temporary work as the underlying process is too slow. For businesses looking to alleviate the pain of constantly being short-staffed, there are no easy ways to get gig workers either. It either costs too much money to do regularly or is in limited availability because there are just not enough workers. Take Annie, a college sophomore from Sandy Springs, Georgia, attending Washington University. While Annie has had a part-time job in food prep when she was in high school, she hasn't taken a regular job while in college because she's usually busy with school, being on academic scholarship. However, she finds some of her later weeknights to be more open than she'd prefer. For Annie, money is tight, and what she does have, she spends on plane tickets to see her family back in Georgia during school breaks. For people like Annie looking to find the right work-life balance, there are only a handful of gig jobs that they can take, and almost all require some sort of asset like a car or a specialized skill in high demand. And lastly, no freelance company offers any sort of community for her. You're either directly competing against your peers or you're entirely on your own and miss out on the camaraderie that many people enjoy about in-person work. The solution is Fillspot, a hiring platform that matches employers like Josh with network trusted Fillspotter agents like Annie. Employers are thoroughly reviewed by Fillspot to give agents the full knowledge of where they will be working. And likewise, agents are vetted by Fillspot to ensure the quality of agents as well as matching personality and interest to the available work. Josh heard about Fillspot from his local chamber of commerce and decided he'd give it a go. Josh registers his business ahead of the busy weekend, filling out his gig agent needs and even takes some photos to show off the kitchen. The next Friday evening, as people start to come into the restaurant, Josh requests a Fillspotter, verifying the market wage, the total time, and how soon he needs the agent. Fillspot then alerts all agents who match with Josh's needs and can show up within and for the requested time. Annie, who is tired of having unproductive Fridays, has already downloaded the Fillspot app, filled out her profile and schedule, since it's the only gig work in her area that she can easily do where she gets to interact with people that aren't customers. So he gets a notification that the Zebra Bistro needs someone to cut vegetables and wash dishes tonight from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. and will pay her $100 for the shift. For Annie, $100 would be huge, so she unlocks the app and accepts the contract. Josh gets an update that Annie has accepted and will be arriving within 20 minutes. Josh now has peace of mind to know that when things get busy at the Zebra Bistro, he can use Fillspot to ensure his businesses can run smoothly. He didn't have to sort through 100 applicants and didn't have to spend time trying to vet them for their skills. For Annie, she gets the benefit of turning unproductive time into money and doesn't have to spend that time searching through the hundreds of part-time jobs in her area. Both Josh and Annie let Fillspot do the heavy lifting for her. And if we look at the total market within the gig community, so the total available market for Fillspot is the total gig economy. And while the number of individuals who participate worldwide are heavily scrutinized and estimated, however, the gross volume is well understood, and for 2021 is projected to top $347 billion. The serviceable available market for Fillspot, provided resources for scaling, is the total number of gig workers in the United States, which is just under 60 million people. However, our target market in the US is workers in hospitality, which is currently at 13 million people. For market adoption, we have a three-pronged approach. First, focusing on local adoption with key businesses in the corridor, such as restaurants, hotels, and even local staffing agencies. Monthly and seasonal events where businesses in the area have to deal with large events and a huge influx of people, we can come there and show them the benefits of using our service with that huge influx of people so that they aren't short-staffed. And form partnerships with key state unemployment agencies, community groups, and host community outreach events to build a peer community of workers. Looking at our competition in the space, we have two segments: users, or what we like to call agents, and employers, which for us would be our paying customers. On the agent side, we highlight that Fillspot is positioned to be the only platform that relies on an inclusive peer community that is rapidly able to get jobs for its users. On the employer side, we highlight that Fillspot is positioned to have a large pool of workers and be affordable. While Upwork also occupies this space, its workers are highly specialized to a specific skill set, so the effective labor pool for an expertise may be much lower. And then looking at our competitive advantages over our peers, we have ease of use. Our jobs and agents come to you versus you having to sort through hundreds. Clear pricing for one-time and subscription use. There are no fees or hidden costs, unlike most job boards. It's a time saver. There's no need to browse, vet, interview, or waste time reading job descriptions for opportunities that don't fit you or your business. And list and go. As a business or user, you will only need to fill out your profile once and update your availability as you need. You don't have to repost the same job continually on job boards or the like. And community center events allow users to meet at social gatherings and networking events with their like-minded peers. And finally, our design and brand is memorable. We provide a quality service and worker treatment that ensure that we're the go-to option. And here is my contact information. You can reach me by email or through LinkedIn. You can also scan the QR code that will also get to my LinkedIn. And thank you very much.
Very cool. Any questions?
Oh my gosh, Michael, I have actually been talking about this for the last couple, not to this scale. You've done an amazing job. Great presentation today. But just a market to consider are people like me. I was saying, I've got all my restaurant owner friends that are struggling to find staff, and I am a mom of teenagers. So therefore, I spend a lot of evenings alone or with my husband. Like we don't always have something to do. We don't have kids that need us anymore. So there's this whole market of people and empty nesters that could potentially be, if they're just bored on a Friday night, they can go host or hostess, maybe chop vegetables if that's their thing. So just something to keep in mind. I know that young people are preferred. However, keep us old people in mind too. We have a lot of experience and a lot of flexibility. And some are even so generous with their time. If you had a volunteer your time option. So if there's a restaurant that's struggling and they're looking for a volunteer and someone's willing and able, that might be something that they would be willing to consider as well. So bravo, my friend. I'd love to see this happening. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
So I quite like the idea on many levels. I like the creativity. But you have to use a different example, because what you've described are not contractors. They're using the tools that are provided by the work. They're at the location that is assigned by the employer. They have to show up at a time that the employer states. And what was the other thing? Anyway, those are like, there's 4 things that define a contractor, and 3 out of 4 are definitely not there.
You're absolutely correct. So I use contractor because I think that's, to the layman, that's the more noticeable term. A W-2 temporary is a new class of like this sort of gig worker that would fit under what I just said, right? So they have to show up at a certain time. They use the employer's tools, and generally they're paid through the employer.
Okay, so are they therefore employees of your company, or are they W-2 temporary?
So W-2 temporary seems like an avenue for us. We're still working with this, and we really need to interview more people within the freelance community to feel out whether that is the correct structure. Yeah.
Can you talk about your customer discovery process? Have you talked to restaurant owners, hotel owners? What have they said in response to this idea?
So the response from restaurants has been extremely strong. We've talked to probably, I want to say at least 12 to 15 within the area, and a lot of them own multiple places too. And their response is basically like, yeah, I would love to sign up for this right now. Because I mean, the situation I described with my hypothetical customer, Josh, is exactly the situation that pretty much every restaurant we've interviewed is having, is that they just need someone. Yeah.
And then have you talked to people on the other end that would potentially be these people filling these
Yeah.
positions?
Yeah. So that's what we've been doing more recently, because the response was so strong from our potential paying customers. We've been trying to interview more workers, and I have about like 20 or so, but they range such a broad range of people. I really want to interview more people within freelance itself, or within, or like actual gig workers themselves. So yeah, most of them have been pretty responsive, but it's just finding out what their actual needs are. Because asking them, oh, would you use something like this, is sort of, leading the witness, right?
Yeah, I feel like you need to pilot the idea with some people in some restaurants or places to really say this does work. Great job with your presentation, by the way. I thought you did an amazing job with presenting the idea and really enjoyed the concept.
Thank you.
Hey, Mike, this is David. I have a couple questions for you. So I know that you're working with a relatively new class of workers. So how does your service support gig workers for healthcare, vacation, and other benefits?
Yeah, so that's something we're actually really interested in, is if people would be receptive to benefits like paid time off, paid vacation, paid sick leave, benefits like healthcare. The response, so we've talked to workforce experts. Their response is that many people at least that they deal with a lot of people that are on unemployment, is that a lot of people view the social services as their benefits package. So it's not something they're actively seeking. And this is why I want to interview more people that are already in this space, is to see what their feeling are, because more of them have to go, right? They have to go buy their own benefits package, basically, right?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't know if like partnering up with an insurance provider or someone like that to help provide a little bit more stability, because I'm a freelancer. I know a lot of freelancers, and there are certain things, especially as you have a family, as you move up the age and whatnot, there are certain things that you just can't say no to if you're providing for children or your partner or whatever. So the other question I have is, and this might be too early for you to know, but how do you guarantee that each person is qualified for a particular job as well as fit with that company? Because a lot of normal interviewing practices, sometimes the skills themselves are less important than the fit for the person.
Right. So one of the people I'll show my business model canvas, but one of the people we want to possibly able to get in a partnership is either ACT or U-Science, because their quizzes, and I've taken at least the U-Science quiz because it's offered through the university, is more geared to that sort of thing. It's something that employer doesn't have to directly come up with the interview questions and trying to shoot sort of in the dark. These are things that are made by people that they know psychology, they know what they're talking about, so they can help us basically figure out if that fits correct.
Right. I've worked in restaurants and things, and it's one thing to say like, yeah, I know how to cut vegetables, and then you come into it and there's like yelling going on in the kitchen to get orders out. There's like pressures, and if you don't have experience doing some of those things, you can cost the restaurant money. You can burn the food by not watching it. So there's a lot of like additional like things that go outside of just a particular little skill set. And if someone says, yeah, I like make food at home, like that to me doesn't build a lot of trust as an employer.
You're absolutely right. I think two of the restaurants we talked to exactly echoed the exact same thing you said. They said, basically like, I'll get someone in that, they say at home, like, oh yeah, I'm a fantastic cook and all that. And then they get in the restaurant, it's like too much pressure, right?
Yeah.
Um,
You don't realize like how intense being in the back, even as a dishwasher, can be, because there's all these other
right,
things going on. It's crazy.
right. Yeah. So I mean, that's something that I think we need to work with. I mean, that would be something we'd explore in our pilot program for
Sure.
sure. Right now the restaurants are just telling us, I just need someone,
Right.
like at the beginning, it was like, no, they have to have some training. And now they're just telling
Now
us,
they're just desperate.
they're so desperate. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other
Michael, I
questions?
have a question for you. So
Mhm.
can you talk a little bit more about your background or your personal experience that kind of inspired you to create Fillspot?
Sure. So my background is, yeah, this is really interesting. My background is in mechanical engineering. I'm a PhD at the University of Iowa in mechanical engineering. But I'm somewhat flirt with like the software side a ton. I got pitched this idea a while ago, actually by a friend of mine. And he was interested if I would, take it up. And basically, after reading through all the reporting that's out there, all the different research that's out there, this is a huge problem that just is not being addressed. And my feeling is that sort of the status quo of how people are going about this is it's going to fix itself. It's just going to fix itself. And there's this thought of, 60% of the workforce will be freelance by 2030, but no one has any idea how that's going to happen, right? So we just see this as a huge opportunity, is basically what I see. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, Michael, I'm Ricardo, and I'm a gig worker technically, and also past food industry worker. So I'd love to connect with you if you still want some, I guess, insights into the industry or whatever.
Absolutely.
It's a really cool idea, but I'm kind of just thinking of lots of issues that you could come up with. My main one right now is that, gig work, especially in small towns like this one, can get really old. I mean, what's her face, Lyft and Uber are struggling to find drivers right now, right? Because people sign up, they do it for a week, a month, make some money, and then they get bored. How are you planning on, preventing that issue for your subscribers? Because your customers, you have the restaurants and the gig workers, right? But if you don't have the gig workers, how are you going to keep them in? Like, how are you going to make sure,
Right.
They don't get bored or just over it? Because like,
Yeah.
if the restaurant's relying on you, but you don't have anyone, like how do you, there you go.
Yep. So what we're hoping to do, and this is one of the things that I think, WeWork actually did correct, was that they really tried to center a lot of what they did around this community, right? And so I think that's a huge thing for us is being, if you're on Upwork, you're trying to undercut your peers, right? Because you're trying to get that work. Or if you're on Fiverr, you're trying to undercut your peers, right? If you're in Uber, you don't talk to anyone but but whoever's riding in your car, right? So this is sort of, and especially within restaurants, is that camaraderie within restaurants is like a huge deal. So this is one of the things that we're hoping is going to keep people enticed. The other thing is, this idea I think can easily expand. We're thinking hospitality right now because it's in such a need. I have other ideas that are tangential to it, like more travel related stuff, right? Like resorts, like ski resorts, right? Have a huge problem with getting workers a lot of the time. Even, I heard the other day from someone in Florida that, they advertise to people in Europe to come over to work all the resorts down there or the beaches because they just can't get people from here. So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity to keep people on. Yeah.
Michael, this is Matt Arnold. Yeah, great presentation. There's a lot of potential in here, and so I have a few questions that are going around in my head that I just like this as a platform. So my one question or comment for you, I guess, would be like, how might portable credentials, micro credentials work in the system? Not necessarily like a badging or gamification, but in general, a big trend we've seen over time is is less reliance on formal degrees and more
Mhm.
reliance on what are smaller things that demonstrate somebody can do this. So yeah, I see a strong element here, and so sorry about that question and this ham-fisted comment, but I also love your insight about people want community centered around their work,
Mhm.
right? And the isolation, the negative emotion, and basically the lack of humanity in a lot of gig economy is we'll just find somebody to fill this, right? Not thinking about them as a human. So I really do like
Right.
your community centered component, but was just wondering about what might be some micro credentials in the platforms so that you know that this person is reputable or they have these skills out of the gate.
Right. Yeah. So we've definitely thought about like sort of a badging sort of structure where it's like after you either get verified by a restaurant you've previously worked at. That's sort I mean, like a whole transparent work history is a huge idea within this platform. But really like us having access to that and the employers not having to worry about sorting through that. So we thought about that. The other thing is really just, and this is still where work needs to be done with us as far as like the idea and as far as the vetting goes. I just think about maybe like the last time you've rated a place on like Glassdoor, right? Like most people go on there and write negative reviews. So we're trying to think of a way of how do you entice people to write positive reviews of both a workplace and a worker? Is the comparison of like, what's the benefit for you, right? Like as someone that would be using Fillspot, it's like I want to rate someone accurately so that I get workers that I actually need, right? And as a worker, you'd want to be, I want to rate places accurately so that I only get shown places that I want to work. If that makes sense.
It does. I like that. Yeah. And then how do you incentivize that behavior? Right. And
Yeah.
For what it's worth, in the background as a design technique, sometimes when we're working on challenging stuff, we take the dark side of something. Like you said, what's the dark, if the dark side went out, like, on social platforms, is bullying, right? Like, and how could we incentivize more bullying? Or to your point, how could we incentivize really negative things? And you do that just to see what the possibilities are, right? Not to be, and then have that conversation. Then, like you said, then those are ways that you can look to mitigate, but letting the dark side be part of your early design will help, I think, highlight those. And that's not to say you're not going the right space, just saying that that's a tool that you might use as you look at that. And I do appreciate the way you're trying to keep everything positive, because you're right. It's a good filter either way, right? Like if they're good now, over time, it's going to hone in on these are really good fits for me as an employer or as a worker.
Yeah. I appreciate the question. That's some good insight too. Thank you.
Yeah. Best of luck, man.
All right, I do have to cut things off because we're getting near the bottom of the hour. I do want to ask our traditional final question that we have here at 1 Million Cups Iowa City every single week. What can we as the community do to help you?
Yeah, so I really just need more people that have done freelance, do gig work. If you know someone that does gig work, I want to interview you. Please reach out. Let's connect.
Very cool. You want to put your email address in the chat so everyone can
Yep, absolutely.
take care of that after the show here. Excellent. Well, thank you very much. It's a great idea. It's definitely needed right now.